Regardless of our opinions of the cars and circuits that they add to Gran Turismo 7 and GT Sport, there's one thing which I think we can all agree on, and that is that you can't please everyone. There are a couple of occasions, though, where I think that stands out more than any other. One is Vision GTs. Many people reel against them because they wish a real car or a more significant car took the place of the effort and time put into said Vision GT, especially when it's a duplicate. That, though, for me is the occasion that riles me up just a little bit more. The idea of duplicates being thrown into an already small 3 or 4 car update just to bolster the numbers really feels like a cop-out. But what annoys me even more than that is when they do it with circuits, and they've already done it a couple of times in GT7, the most grating for me by far being Spa. The variation added a few months ago which literally changes nothing that I could see apart from the start location. It changes the grid. That's it. That could have and should have been in the game from day one. Duplicates are really something that we naturally grate against. But there's a weird thing, because that's always been a part of Gran Turismo. So why didn't we care before and why do we care now? I think it's because the stakes have changed. Now that there are less cars to begin with, less cars which feel significant and which feel unique, and certainly less cars being added, well, each car that's added feels like it means more. The stakes are higher, the slots are narrower, the supply and demand is more strict. So when you put in a needless duplicate, it really feels like a lazy waste of space, at least to many of us, and with a circuit even more so. In the older games, even Gran Turismo 6, which had more duplicates than any other Gran Turismo game, literally like 400 or 500 of them, I believe, we still didn't really care that much. It was still kind of a joke how many Skylines there were, how many Miatas there were, because the good outweighed the duplicates. The number of unique, interesting, old and new race and road concept and production vastly outweighed the amount of duplicates. And some of the duplicates were actually pretty cool. An example that comes to mind for me would be the Evo RSs. Are they technically duplicates? Well, yes and no. They're not the same thing as a GSR, but they're pretty damn close. They're not entirely necessary, but they're still pretty cool, because it's a rally base model, so you can make an argument for it. Now though, well, compare that to like the 2 different Clio RSs that are in the game. To me, I just don't feel like they're both necessary. One is more than fine, especially when you could have had like a Clio Williams or something in its place, or a different variation of the Clio V6, newer or older, blah, blah, blah. But a thought came to me recently while out on a walk, and it's a thought which I think Polyphony could benefit from. Now, it's not like they're ever going to listen to me, and even if they did listen to creators, I would be the last one they'd ever listen to because I openly criticise them so much, and I'm not at all a company man. But I think they could benefit. And I think many of us would benefit in certain controversial ways, but maybe some interesting and certainly memeable ways. Imagine this for a second. We say that the models in the game take about, 6 months to make? Let's say that's true, I'm sure it is. Well, the work does pay off. Take the Carrera GT in the game. It looks absolutely exquisite. But when you then add something like a duplicate, it kind of undermines this idea of them putting that much effort in. Because you already know that the duplicate didn't take 6 months to make. There's no way in hell you're going to tell me it took them as much time to make that second Clio, for example, as it took to make the first one. I just don't believe you. It's a couple of slightly different numbers, still working in the same physics engine, and some slightly different lights and badges. It doesn't take a ground-up creation to remake that. Now, instead of having that as one of a number of cars, or in GT7's case, one of a handful of cars, 3 or 4 usually in updates, that feels like just a waste of space, to be honest, imagine if, for, let's say, Christmas, instead of having 3 or 4 cars, maybe 1 or 2 returning faces, maybe one's genuinely new and some kind of Vision GT, imagine if instead of that, scrap that completely for 1 month, and instead announce that this update is more of an expansion size. It's still free, but it contains 100 or more cars. Sounds ridiculous. Of course they're never going to do that, but bear with me. What if those 100 plus cars were 40 different variations of R32, R33 and R34 Skylines, FDRX7s, Evo 5s, 6s, whatever, Evo 10s even, and a number of others that we've had duplicates of, MX5s, RX8s, NSXs, Integras. That kind of thing which we've seen hundreds of duplicates of in GT5, GT6 and even older games. But now think about that. I guarantee they could bang out probably 10 or 20 of those in a weekend, considering how minimal the changes are between those different models when you've already got the baseline model mapped into the game. If you've got, as they already do, a 90s shape Mazda RX-7 and an early 2000s shape FD RX-7, well, bang, you've just got the two major ones, and you can make like 40 different variations out of those, of all different Spirit Rs and RSs and Type RAs, and all you've really got to change is a chin splitter here, a wing over there, maybe a badge or two. In the case of the Skyline, bring the R33 Le Mans edition in the special blue, bring the R34 Midnight Purple edition. You're really not changing that much, and yet it's technically a new car. Now, many of us will instantly reel against this idea because it feels like a waste of time. But here's my argument. I agree. But they're already doing this. They are already adding duplicates. So it's clearly not something they're going to stop doing anytime soon. So if they are going to do it, why not just do it all at once, get it out of their system, and make it this massive talking point for the game? A genuinely colossal update with dozens, if not 100 plus cars. You could easily make it hundreds even if you did it Gran Turismo 6 style. But then for those who hate the idea of all those duplicates, some of which I believe could be cool, Evo 5 to have an Evo 5 RS, blah, blah, blah. But imagine then that you put the unique side and the unique effort of that particular patch into the circuit instead of the cars. So have one circuit, which is simultaneously a circuit which is a new location, adds to a significant area, region within the game, has 4 different distinct variations with weather and time, but is also a legendary returning track. The one I have in mind doesn't have to be this, but let's say it would certainly fit with the theme of the Japanese duplicates. Twin Ring Motegi. You can have the full course, the East Course, West Course, and the Super Speedway. Well, that's 4 new tracks, legitimately feeling different to each other. It's a legendary returning track, and it would be the fresh blood of that massive update, with all of the rest being this huge expansion to the car list of the game, which simultaneously, in a weirdly memeable kind of way, feels like Gran Turismo 5 and 6 coming back in spirit with those memeable dupes. As I said, it's a controversial idea, but the reason why I think it could be an idea at all is because, as I said, they are already doing this. So it's certainly not beneath them to add a massive update with nothing but duplicates, because they're already doing duplicates. It doesn't have to be just Japanese stuff. They've had other duplicates in the past, even the Renault that I mentioned, and others too. So overall, that's my idea. I don't think it's something they will ever do, and I certainly don't think anyone from Polyphony is watching my videos or listening to anything I have to say. I mean, as I said, I'm the last creator they would ever take advice from, but I do think that there is potential there to actually make something out of it, to, instead of dabbling in it, using it just to bolster up lazy updates, actually make something of it. Make it a bigger deal. And even if you wanted to extend that token to the circuits as well, add a ton of circuit variations in that same patch, even if it's the pointless Spa-style ones. There are plenty of tracks you could add those small changes to. Even if it's an update like adding rain to a track that didn't have it, or snow even, or something like that. You've got to imagine it would take a lot less effort to do that than to create an entirely new circuit from scratch. So I think the idea can be used well, and the potential is massive, given that it would probably take maybe 10% of the effort of creating a brand new model in the game, and yet you'd get like 10 times the amount of vehicles out of doing it. But that's just it for my 2 cents. An idea that I had, which doubtless will never happen, but one which I think has some merit, at least. But overall, that's it for my thoughts. Tell me what you think of it down below. Do you think it's a horrendous idea? Do you think it's an interesting idea? Do you think it's a good idea? Whatever you think, tell me down below. And of course, stick around for more on the channel. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.